Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Commander Campaign. This week, the Lion King. So for Commander Campaign, we are a podcast that produce and create decks based around movies, television shows, video games, books, and sometimes magic lore. For this week, we're going to be focusing on the Disney classic, The Lion King. So let's move into it. So our commander is Arabo, Roar of the World. Arabo is 3 green-white for a legendary creature cat avatar 5/5 with Eminence. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if Arabo, Roar of the World, is in the command zone or on the battlefield, another target cat you control gets +3/+3 until end of turn. And whenever another cat you control attacks, you may pay 1 green-white. If you do, it gains Trample and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. That last part can only happen if Arabo is on the battlefield. The +3/+3 is coming from the Eminence. So this is representing Mufasa. So the reason I chose Mufasa over Simba for Arabo is because he's always there, even when he's not there, to provide support. We see that when he's in the stars for Simba, giving those words of wisdom. Also, this deck is very, very focused around cats and enchantresses. Enchantresses will make sense in a minute because we do need some function in our mostly form over function deck. So let's move on to the second star of the deck, Starfield of Nyx. So I chose this because of the whole scene with Mufasa in the stars. So it is 4 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as you control 5 or more enchantments, each other non-aura enchantment you control is a creature in addition to its other types and has base power and toughness, each equal to its converted mana cost. So as soon as Mufasa appears in the sky, he's providing a lot of support, and he gives Simba the courage he needs to move forward. So here's another representation of Mufasa. You could also argue Simba here. So it's Kahira the Orphan Guard. 1 and hybrid Selesnya. For a legendary creature, cat beast 3/2 with companion. Each creature card in your deck, the companion restriction that you would need to follow, this deck does not, by the way, is each creature card in your starting deck is a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast card. So you can't use it as your companion just because we don't follow those restrictions due to certain creatures that we have to include. So Kahira has vigilance, and each other creature you control that's a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast gets +1/+1 in vigilance. So the reason I think this embodies and represents both Simba and Mufasa is, my opinion is, it's when he is king. Whenever one of them is king, is represented by Kahira because he's guarding over the rest of the wildlife in the Pride Lands. So now we finally have Simba. Ajani, Caller of the Pride. 1 white for a Planeswalker Ajani with 4 loyalty. +1, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. -3, target creature gains flying and double strike until end of turn. -8, put X 2/2 white cat creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is your life total. So Ajani, Caller of the Pride, works pretty well with the whole Pride Rock thing, and Pride is a collection of lions, as far as I'm aware. Also, as soon as he gets enough courage or enough loyalty, he can summon enough cats to his aid to help defeat Scar and his hyenas. So I thought that worked. Also, we have Ajani's Strength of the Pride, which is 2 white for a legendary planeswalker Ajani with 5 loyalty. +1, you gain life equal to the number of creatures you control, plus the number of planeswalkers you control. -2, create a 2/2 white cat soldier creature token named Ajani's Pride Mate with whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Ajani's Pride Mate. If you have at least 15 or more you can pay 0 loyalty. If you have at least 15 more life than your starting life total, exile Ajani's Strength of the Pride and each artifact and creature your opponents control. So, as soon as you have enough life, you can eradicate Scar's plan. So, yeah, that's why also, like, they both are of the Pride, which is kind of why I went with that. I went with these two Ajanis as opposed to the other ones. And I thought that it represented a cat that left home, planes walked away, and came back. Now, we have Rafiki. 8.5 tails. White for a legendary fox cleric. Legendary creature, fox cleric. 2/2. With 1 and a white. Target permanent you control gains protection from white until end of turn. And 1, target spell or permanent becomes white until end of turn. So Rafiki can protect you when you need it. He can help you when you need it. Can bash you on the head with that staff that he has. And tell you you're being dumb. And protect you from the evils. Also, pretty badass fighter when he wants to be. Next, we have Scar, represented by Hungry Lynx. 1 and a green for a creature cat. Cats you control have protection from rats. Oh, it's a 2/2, by the way. Cats you control have protection from rats. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent creates a 1/1 black rat creature token with Death Touch, and whenever a rat dies, put a 1/1 counter on each cat you control. So, this is inspired by the whole grabbing the rat by the tail thing, kind of how Scar is introduced in the movie. I thought it was incredibly appropriate here. Also, pretty powerful card in most of the Cats deck. And now we have everyone's favorite meerkat. We got Timon, Karoo Meerkat. 1 in the green for a mongoose, creature mongoose, for 2/1 with protection from blue. Nothing super special. Timon never really thought he was special when he was younger. He thought he was different, but he didn't think that he was anything extraordinary. It's the only meerkat in Magic that I can find. Also, look at that. It looks exactly like Timon. Now we have Pumbaa, Crozen Tusker. 5 green for a creature boar beast, 6/5 with cycling for 2 and a green. Whenever you cycle Crozen Tusker, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. It's the green divination. So yeah, because you draw a card and you get a land to your hand, so that's basically what divination's going to do. Plus you can cast it for 7 to have a 6/5 later on in the game. Next we have Pride of Lions. So this is a 3 green for a creature cat. 4/4. You may have Pride of Lions deal its combat damage to defending player as though it weren't blocked. So, to me, this is buff Nala. It looks exactly like Nala to me if she went to the gym for like 10 years straight, no stop. She looks ready to kill you, and she definitely can pack a punch, so, or a claw, whatever. Yeah, moving on. So this one's a stretch, but I couldn't really find anything for Zazu, so I used Teshar Ancestor's Apostle. It's 3 and a white for a legendary creature bird cleric 2/2 with flying. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This can come in handy. You can bring stuff back like Hungry Lynx, ironically enough. Why would you bring Scar back after dealing with him? But you can bring back Timon if you want something a little bit more friendly. You can bring back 8.5 tails. You can bring back Kahira. all different good stuff you can bring back with Tashar, and it's the only real legendary bird that made sense to me for Zazu. Next we have New Horizons. So this is the story part of this. This is going to be the start to finish these next couple cards. So first we have New Horizons. It's 2 and a green for an enchantment aura, Enchantland. When New Horizons enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. An enchanted land has tap, add 2 mana of any one color. So look out to the horizon, past the trees, over the grasslands. Everything the light touches belongs to us. Is my kingdom. Belongs to someone else is the line from Lion King 1.5. So I kind of mixed them together there. Whoops! Sorry, moving on. So now we have the 3 cards that represent a whole lot of sadness, but 2 of them can actually help us win the game. So we have Overrun, Overwhelming Stampede, and Stampeding Wildebeests. I think you know where I'm going with this. So Overrun, 2 green for a sorcery. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. Very good finisher. Yeah. Then we have Overwhelming Stampede, 3 green sorcery. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So just a much stronger Overrun with less restrictions for mana, specific mana. And then we have Stampeding Wildebeests, which is 2 green for a creature Antelope Beast with trample, 5/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, return a green creature you control to its owner's hand. So, not a very good card. The other 2 are a lot better. But they all represent the scene where Mufasa gets ran over. Betrayed by Scar. Next we have Simba's Escape. So we have Retreat to Emeria. 3 and a green for an enchantment with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Put a 1/1 white core ally creature token onto the battlefield. Or creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. You're going to use this for that last little bit of oomph, and you're also going to use it practically to create a little bit of an army. Yeah, it's basically Simba retreating to his Hakuna Matata. Next we have Path of Discovery, where he discovers his Hakuna Matata and Timon and Pumbaa. So Path of Discovery is 3 green for an enchantment, 3 and a green. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. And what that means is you reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand, and if it's a land card. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature, then put the card back or put it into your graveyard. So it's a good card advantage engine in green, very strong with a lot of creatures. Also strong with the enchantment, Enchantress sub-theme we have in the function portion of the deck, where we have stuff like Mesa Enchantress, Viduran Enchantress, stuff like that, where you can draw a bunch of cards off playing enchantments. So next we have Glimpse of Nature. Rafiki looking out into the world. So it's a green for whenever you play a creature spell this turn, draw a card. Sorry, it's a sorcery. It really wouldn't make sense for it to be an instant, really, because you're not really casting creature spells on your opponent's turn most of the time in Commander, or most of the time in Magic. I mean, there are times where you will with Vidal Kanori and whatnot, but not normally, so it makes sense that it's a sorcery. Anyway, that tangent aside, it's Rafiki looking out into the grasslands, and yeah. So now, Path to Exile. This one probably should have been at the beginning of this whole Simba running away thing. So it's Ajani getting banished, is what it looks like, or some sort of Leonin getting banished. It's just standard Commander removal spell. It's white for an instant. Remove target creature from the game. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card, put that card into play tap, then shuffle his or her library. Very efficient removal, very powerful. Also, it's a cat getting exiled, which kind of happened. Or, no, it did happen to Simba by Scar. Next we have Exploration. mostly in here to be ramp, but it also makes sense here because Simba's exploring his new world. So it's a green for an enchantment. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Can be very good, especially when you're drawing a lot of cards with a whole bunch of enchantresses. Also an enchantment, so it probably draws a card when you play it most of the time, unless you're playing it on turn 1 or before, or a little bit after that before you play any of your enchantresses. Very powerful and works really well with the theme. Next we have the Hyenas following Scar kind of blindly. So we have Authority of the Councils and Blind Obedience. So Authority of Councils is a white for an enchantment where creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you gain 1 life. So it slows down your opponents. Same thing with Blind Obedience. They both slow down your opponents. So let's read Blind Obedience. It's 1 and a white for an enchantment with Extort. So whenever you cast a spell, you may pay white or black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. So, just a real quick aside, you can run Extort cards in a mono white deck. You could run a different Extort card in a mono black deck if it was a black identity. Because it is in the reminder text, you do not need both colors in order to run the card. The color identity of the card is the only thing that needs to be represented in your deck. So, artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tap. Both of them kind of do the same thing. They're both very, very good at slowing down the game. And Scar is kind of slowing down his imminent doom, let's be real. But he doesn't really think Simba will come back. And the Hyenas are blindly obeying Scar, even though he's a failed leader. He can't get them any food. He's really, really bad. So now we have True Love's Kiss for when Nala finds Simba. Can you feel the love tonight? Because nothing says love like exiling an artifact or enchantment. So, 2 white for an instant, exile target artifact or enchantment, draw a card. Just really efficient removal, works with the theme. Yeah, moving on. Now we have Dawn of Hope. The day before, or I guess the night before, Simba goes back to the Pride Lands to deal with Scar. We find that Simba originally doesn't want to go, but then hope is instilled as soon as he's visited by Mufasa, and he recollects and reconsiders the situation. So he's hopeful that he can take back the Pride Lands. So it's 1 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. For 3 and a white, you can create a 1/1 soldier creature token with lifelink. So it's good because you can draw cards in white. It doesn't usually happen all that often. Yeah, and it's also an enchantment, so it works with that. Now we have the final battle between Simba and Scar. I know Scar's not Bolas in this particular thing, but this whole thing made way too much sense for me. So we have Ajani's Last Stand. 2 white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature or planeswalker you control dies, you may sacrifice Ajani's Last Stand. If you do, create a 4/4 white avatar creature token with flying. When a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, if you control a planes, create a 4/4 white avatar creature token with flying. So not really a great card in Commander, but very thematic here. Let's be real. Ajani's standing on the edge of Pride Rock there. I'm just saying. It's also Ajani, which we're using as Simba, so it works even more thematically. Yeah. I know I said theme a lot in this past episode, but yeah. It's just the word I'm thinking of, I guess. Moving on to Inheritance. So after Simba defeats Scar, he inherits the throne. It's more white card advantage. Yay! So it's white for an enchantment. You can pay 3 to draw a card. That doesn't sound like white. Hold on. Use this ability only when a creature is put into the graveyard from play, and only once for each creature put into the graveyard. Still not incredibly white, but I'll take it. It's card draw on white. It's not super efficient, but it's good. It works. Also, enchantment. So, gonna draw you a card there, probably. Maybe more. Then we have Sigil of the Empty Throne. So the throne was empty until Simba came back. Well, it wasn't. Well, it was empty for like 5 minutes for when the in-between of Scar and Simba. So, just a really powerful enchantment in Enchantress decks. So I wanted to include it here. Also, it has the throne thing, the whole king thing going on. It works. You know it works. So it's 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Ignore the angel thing. The only angel that the deck really needs is Mufasa coming down to help at least encourage Simba, to tell him he has a duty to fulfill and force him to do it. But let's be real, angels are really helpful, especially if you're planning on winning through overrunning and overwhelming stampeding. So, yeah. I mean, the deck, you want to be able to play these decks. You don't want it to just be 100% theme. I mean, I guess you could go for that, but I want to make it so that you can actually play these and they with the cards still making sense in some way, shape, or form. So now we have the second sunrise. After the whole battle with Scar is over, we can finally have the circle of life be completed as we reach our second sunrise. 1 white for an instant. Each player returns to play all artifact, creature, enchantment, and land cards that were put into his or her graveyard from play this turn. So it can be very, very good, especially after a board wipe, if you're the aggressor and somebody board wipes, and then at the end of their turn you just play this and you just get everything back, and then you go and take your turn, you kill that player, you kill a different player that you think might have a board wipe. It's absolutely devastating. Plus, again, it works with the deck. So, what do you guys think of the Lion King deck? There's some more cards, obviously. There's not a whole 60 cards in this this deck tech, but and the rest of the deck is a whole bunch of enchantresses, powerful cats. So I didn't necessarily feel the need to show them off. Do you think I should show them off? Do you think I should have this be like twice the length and actually explain every non-land card that I put in the deck? Heck, maybe even land cards. I'm not opposed to that, so I'm just up to listen to whatever you guys want. Yeah, just let me know down in the comments. But let's move on to a new section here. So we're gonna go over how this deck plays. So the first step in the plan A of this deck, which is you want to just go aggressive as you can, low to the ground, take down a player, latch onto an ankle, and don't let go until they're dead. So step 1, this is generic in most aggro strategies, you build up your army. So here you're building up your cat army. You want as many powerful cats as you can get a hold of. Next, you want to put a lot of pressure on probably a single opponent, whoever you believe is the biggest threat, whoever you believe has the most board wipes, because you want to take them out before they have the mana or draw their board wipes. So you want to take them out. So then you want to overrun to win the game or take out the players. So you want to use cards like Overrun, Overwhelming Stampede, Beastmaster's Ascension here that are all in the deck. Next, we have our plan B. So if our aggressive plan doesn't work, we need to refresh our hand and start from scratch, essentially. Scratch. I'm funny, but I'm also stupid. Anyway, plan B, sustain. Play enchantresses is step 1. Step 2 is play the enchantments to draw from those enchantresses. Step 3 is draw cards. I was about to skip that. Step 4, you're playing a more control game when you're going for plan B, because you still have a really powerful commander that can kind of end the game on his own if you get him out and give a lot of power to one creature and just trample over somebody and just wipe them out. Then you want to clean up the game in the late game with cats, oppressive enchantments like Sigil of the Empty Throne. So the strengths of this deck, it can win quickly. So if you want to play a quick game, you can play this deck and it has the chance to win quickly. It can also transition well into the late game just because of the reasons we said that we have the enchantresses. We have ways to refill our hand if things go wrong. Weaknesses, though, as stated before, we are susceptible to board wipes. Because if we're going to be really aggressive, we might have drawn like a ton of cats. Just go balls to the walls aggro. They board wipe. They didn't die. Say they fumigate. They gain like 6-7 life, maybe more. And you're sitting there like, crap, I don't have an enchantress in hand. Or crap, I played my enchantress as part of my creatures. So yeah, you gotta be a little bit conservative. Know when to play out your board, and know when you have the ability to strike and actually take out a player. So another weakness. This is a theme weakness. So not all creatures follow the cat tribal theme. So not all creatures can be empowered by Arabo. Not all creatures can be empowered by certain creatures that only give that extra power to cats. Stuff like King of the Pride and stuff like that. So just due to the nature of being a story-based deck, we want something to represent Zazu. That can't be a cat. We want something that represents Timon. That can't be. Well, I guess it could have been a mere cat, but it's not. Mere cats are cats. It's spelled differently. You know. Anyway. So, tell me what you guys think. Sorry for that loud bump. Tell me what you guys think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please subscribe. The only way I'm going to get anywhere with this is if you guys subscribe. So, yeah. Let me know how you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to keep seeing more of these things in the future. Next, we're going to take a look. In our next episode, we are going to take a look at see what happens when you merge 2 card games together. When the Pharaoh from Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the deck we build around. We build around Yugi's deck from Duelist Kingdom. Don't miss it.